Hello everyone, welcome back to the Dwarven Tavern. This is a continuation of the Pathfinder 2e book, the new core rulebook, and it goes for $59.99 at paizo.com. They are the wonderful folks who brought this book out. And today I'm going to be talking about the wonderful world of magic, or the magical world of wonder, and the varying aspects of the new edition of spells. Now, in order not to miss anything, or to miss as little as possible, I went ahead and read the chapter pretty thoroughly, hence the delay. I'm a slow reader. I read a lot, but I read slowly. Don't know why. Doesn't matter. I get it done anyway. So this spell system is it's fantastic, literally and metaphorically, because they have taken a number of elements and kind of recombined the DNA of the system, and come back with something that's how shall I say, good. And I have a degree in English. So the point is, they made it. It's a fine line. They did a really neat thing. They took a familiar system. And if you remember a couple of videos ago, I was talking about the concept of a variation of a theme, where you take a single theme and change it up just enough to make it noticeably different. I've been a composer for a long time, and that has always been one of my my challenging moments. I can do it, but it once I get a melody or something locked into this steel trap of a brain of mine, and people say, I've got a memory like a steel trap, like it's a good thing. I find it hard to break a pattern. I guess I don't know why that is, or why it's even important, but the point is that they've taken a very important theme that runs throughout Pathfinder and D&D 3.5 and 3.0 and 2 and 1. They've taken this this system of magic, and they varied the theme to fantastic results. And I don't say fantastic as in fantasy. I'm saying fantastic as in magnificent, wonderful, awesome, coolulous, and so forth. So what have they changed? What is different? Well, the spell slots are relatively the same for the varying classes, with the exception of the one thing I wanted to mention was the you have spells level 1 through 10 now instead of 1 through 9, and it's pretty cool when you just where to begin. So when you start out, they've just approached it from a different direction. I'll put it this way: you have magical traditions now instead of not having magical traditions. It's a descriptor that utilizes the varying, I guess the varying traditions of a particular spell, or set of spells, rather, and turned it into traditions. how they make the spells go, what they do that makes the magic work, I guess is the best way of putting it. For example, the four primary magical traditions are arcane, and it says here, arcane spellcasters use logic and rationality to categorize the magic inherent in the world around them. Because of its far-reaching approach, the arcane tradition has the broadest spell list. Though it's generally poor at affecting the spirit or the soul, wizards are the most iconic arcane spellcasters. Poring over tomes and grimoires, though arcane sorcerers study the secrets of their blood to unlock the power within themselves. And I don't think they mean they actually, like bleed out onto a piece of paper and stare at it until they can do a fireball. I don't think that's the case. I think they're studying their bloodline and looking over tomes to research where this uncle or cousin came in contact with this dryad and or troll or fae of some sort, and logic and reasoning and mathematics and the like are what power arcane spells. It's how they make the arcane spells work. They're using the arcane tradition. Well, it says you have to knock 3 times at exactly 12 decibels, minus 12 decibels, minus 12 decibels, to set the vibrations with a lead crystal chime, and that's all of the science and the logic and stuff behind the arcane, which is very cool. It's very cool. The divine, of course, is a power of the divine steeped in faith, the unseen, and belief in a power source from beyond the material plane. Clerics are the most iconic divine spellcasters, beseeching the gods to grant them the magic. Lord, could you kill him, please? Thank you. And prayer and just tapping into that high Akka or high mana, witches. So that's that and traditionally in the older books, in the older versions of the game, you have arcane or divine, period. A dichotomous system. It's a two-party system. But now they've gone beyond that. Occult is another one. And practitioners of the occult traditions seek to understand the unexplainable, categorize the bizarre, or otherwise access the ephemeral in a systematic way. Bards are the most iconic occult spellcasters, collecting strange esoterica and using their performances to influence the mind and elevate the soul. The occult sorcerers strive to, understand the mysterious power in their blood. Now, as an occult spellcaster, a bard would take and say, when I have this thing here and I play these chords and I sing this song to this level, for some reason it bursts into flames, or for some reason, and it's esoteric, it's mysterious, it's occult, which is occult. The literal meaning of the word occult is mystery. Okay, so, and then you have primal, which primal doesn't necessarily mean barbaric or uncivilized or animalistic. Prime is the root word of primal, so it's like the first. It's like the first. No words are up here right now. The word primal, it just means it's a connection to the beginnings, back to the source. An instinctual connection to and faith in the world, the cycle of night and day, the turning of seasons, and the natural selection of predator and prey drive the primal tradition. Druids are the most iconic primal spellcaster, calling upon the magic of nature through deep faith and a connection to the plants and animals around them. And primal sorcerers call upon their fae or beast blood to harness the same natural energies. So, as you can imagine, getting back to nature, getting down to the primal instincts, holding a rattlesnake in one hand and a pine cone in the other, you have tapped into some potentially really dangerous stuff, specifically with the rattlesnake. So those are the 4 traditions. Okay. And then you have the 4 essences, which compose some traits of the spells, like matter, spirit, mind, and life, and so forth. The matter, of course, is body, known as body, physical, essence. I don't know why I do that. I guess that's essence. Not going to say anything. Spirit is called the soul, ethereal essence, the spiritual essence, spirit, otherworldly building block that makes up a being's immaterial and immortal self. Then mind is thought or astral essence. The mind essence allows thinking creatures to have rational ideas, thoughts, ideas, plans, logic, and memories, like the id, the ego, so forth and so on. Though I do not like Freudian psychology. You can burn me at the stake if you like, but Freud was a psychopath. Don't even get me started. Life is called heart, faith, instinct, or vital essence. Life represents the animating universal force. So it is through life magic, or it is a function of life magic that gives vampires they can't just drink a pint of blood that they get from down at the 7-Eleven or what have you. They have to, the blood that they drink has to be taking the life from someone else. That's what gives them their food. That's what feeds them. So that would be a principle of life magic. And then they have something else which I found incredibly fascinating and very, very cool, which is focus spells, which is an entirely different animal than spell slots. With focus spells, you can't use a spell slot to cast a focus spell, and vice versa. And there's an entirely different section dedicated to focus spells, and we'll get to that in a bit. Then, of course, cantrips are the 0 level spells that you can cast any cantrip at will, any number of times. If you've got the magic things, you can light a candle or do whatever a cantrip can do based on your tradition. Then you have prepared spells, spontaneous spells, and heightened spells. Prepared spells, of course, are when the wizard says, okay, I need this bit of crystal, I need this bit of powder, and let me see, these words are bada 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 bada, which I guess is summon machine gun. So I'll do that and that and this. And okay, this is this spell. Spell pouch, material component pouch, which is another cool thing that I'll mention. That's a prepared spell. Okay. Spontaneous spells is more of a sorcerer or a bard can cast spontaneous spells. Sing a song of hasty retreat. Get run. Jingy jingy jing. You're a bitch. I love that. And then heightened spells. This is another important addition to the system, because previously the spell got more powerful as you gained levels, like 1d6 of damage for lightning or fireball or ice cone of cold, whatever, right? So now the fireball does like 6 dice of damage. If it's a heightened spell, it does 10 or whatever it is. I don't know exactly. So what is a heightened spell? I'll tell you. A heightened spell, I believe all spells have, or a lot of spells, not all spells, have the heightened. Here is one. Horrid Wilting. It's an arcane or primal spell. It costs 2 actions. It has somatic, which is the hand gestures, and verbal components. That's the primal. It has a range of 500 feet. Any number of living creatures are its target. Gee, mini Christmas. And it has a basic fortitude save. And if you remember I'll get to the saving throws in a minute. But saving throws are basic, expert, the legendary, master, thing. So back to the heightened. You pull the moisture from the target's bodies. Dealing 10d10, 10-sided dice of negative damage. Creatures made of water and plant creatures use the outcome for 1 degree of success worse than the result of their saving throw. Creature whose bodies contain no significant moisture, like earth elementals and probably mummies, use your common sense, okay? Sand creatures, fire elementals, that contain no moisture are immune to horrid wilting. You can't wilt. You can wilt a match, but you can't wilt the flame thereof. Because the match goes. Now, if it's heightened, this is an 8th level spell. It's a spell 8. If it's heightened, it increases the damage by 1d10, so it would be 11d10, not 12d10 or 13d10, but 11d10, and then it would count as a 9th level spell. Meaning whatever the heightened form of the spell is, heightened +1 for hydraulic push, heightened +1 for the damage increase of hydraulic torrent, and so forth. They've got a lot of hydraulics in here. All those increase the spell by +1. All of those examples. Hallucinatory terrain is a 4th level spell. It is heightened 5th level to add more. The image can also disguise structures or create illusory structures, but it still doesn't disguise creatures. So it creates an illusion that causes natural terrain to look, sound, and feel and smell. Look and sound and feel and smell like a different kind of terrain. It doesn't disguise structures, but the heightened version of it does disguise structures. With that being said, the heightened version gives you more ability, and it doesn't change. Let's find Fireball. What the heck? Fire Seeds, Fireball. Okay, so Fireball is a spell 3. A roaring blast of fire appears at a spot you designate, dealing 6d6 fire damage. Heightened +1, the damage increases by 2d6. So a fireball is, you can add +1, 3rd level to 4th level, and that increases it by 2d6. Or you can increase it to 5th level to make it, instead of 6d6, 8d6, you can make it 10d6 at 5th level, so forth and so on. So, some spells allow you to put it up there as you get more stronger in power. The +1 heightened Finger of Death is heightened +1. The damage increases by D10. It's a spell 7. If you want to give it 2 more, if you want to give it 2 more, it increases the damage by 20. Because for every +1 you give the heightened, it gives it +10 damage. So that is that. That is the concept of heightening spells. I guess that may be a neologism. I don't think it is. Then we talked about prepared, and that's basically the 3 kinds of things you can do with spells. Then you still have the magical schools such as abjuration, conjuration, divination, enchantment, but now you can have an occult illusion spell or a primal necromancy spell. And it doesn't really affect the way the spells, I guess the result of the casting. It just is a better descriptor of how you get to that casting, to that effect, because there are things like there are spells like neutralize poison. That spell, it's a 3rd level spell. It is both divine and primal. So your cleric can cast it, and your druid could also cast it. There's one non-detection, which is arcane, occult, and primal. Okay, meaning that your sorcerers and wizards could cast it, your bard could cast it, or your druid could cast it. Or if you had a cleric that had access to the primal, then a cleric could do it too, and so forth. So it once again harkens back to the original conversation that I had with Aaron at Paizo at Gen Con, and Arcane Mark, who was one of the authors of the book, who said that the whole idea was simplifying the rules, but giving it more customizability for your characters. So you don't just have a group of old men in pointy hats with moons and stars all over their robes. You could have, and they're all wizards, and they all have access to the exact same list of spells. Now you've got a legitimate plethora of casting combination abilities. And so forth. And that brings me to this, to the wizard. One other thing. Anytime you make a spell, like a ray of frost or a ray of something or a beam of stuff, you have, the ability and instead of it being a ranged touch attack, you have the concept called the spell attack. Where is it? Here it is. It's on the page I was just looking at. Many spells allow a creature to defend themselves using either their AC or a saving throw. 2 statistics govern how potent your spells are against these defenses: your spell attack roll and your spell DC. And we already discussed the spell DC, which is much largely simplified. My words are just in a mess. I need to get my maid up there and in my frontal lobe. Your spell attack roll and your spell DC. When recording these on your character sheet, add together only the numbers that always apply, usually just your ability modifier and your proficiency bonus. So, a spell attack roll is like other attack rolls, but you don't use your THAC0. You don't use your regular attack roll. You use your spellcasting ability modifier plus your proficiency bonus plus other bonuses and penalties. So that tells you how, because a wizard wouldn't use a normal ranged attack because with a spell with a beam, There's no dropping. There's no leading. It's in video games it would be hit scanning, right? So your wizard or your sorcerer or any other creature that uses a spell attack, any other character that uses a spell attack would be would use the spell attack roll, which is the spell casting ability modifier and a proficiency bonus and other bonuses and penalties. So it's a third thing, but it's simpler. Then there's the spell DC, which is your spell casting ability modifier plus your proficiency bonuses and other bonuses and penalties. That's exactly the same as the attack modifier, but it's written down in two different locations. See them words? They're out of their cages. Two different locations on your character sheet, so that if you get something that affects only one or the other, you can keep them separated. Bam, bam, ba-dam. And so that is, again, it's simpler and it's deeper. Now, the one thing I wanted to mention about some spell casting classes is your arcane thesis, your arcane school, and your arcane bond for arcane spell casting. Wizards in specific have to have a spell book. They get heightened spells. They get a number of spell slots per day. Their arcane thesis, they have to choose one, which can be among the following in your thesis, kind of like your doctoral degree or your master's degree. You have to have a thesis for that. I've done both, and they're very similar, in honesty. And in the end, it doesn't really matter. Improved familiar attunement, metamagical experimentation, spell blending, and spell substitution. What are these? Well, you realized in metamagical experimentation, you realized that the practice known as metamagic is a holdover from times long ago, when wizards had to work out their own spells and variations rather than rely on spells recorded by others and passed down over the years. What is this similar to? This is similar to when I was going for my PhD in education. I could have gone for either a PhD, which is a degree of philosophy. It's a philosophical degree, which it should be Doctor of Philosophy, not. It should be philosophical doctor, which is PhD, or an EDD, which is an uppercase E, lowercase d, uppercase d, which is an educational doctor. Same field of study, two different doctors, and that is what this pretty much is. I chose a PhD because with a philosophical doctor, you have to write your thesis or your doctoral thesis. You have to write it on paper, but you have to write it about a new concept that you are studying. Whereas the EDD takes a concept that's already done by someone else and basically just regurgitating it and maybe adding a new spin on it, which did not appeal to me at all. I'm all about creativity and originality, so I chose the PhD to go for both of my PhDs. And so, what that means here is the metamagic experimentation is someone who is more into the PhD of magic than the WIZ of magic, and you gain the effects of choosing the metamagic spell arcane thesis. Forgot what it was. Is that you gain a wizard feat as a bonus feat starting at 4th level. your daily preparation, you gain a metamagic wizard feat of your choice that has a level requirement of no more than half your level, which you can use until your next daily preparations. Which is fine. You're like, well, with this metamagic feat, I can heighten the spell without any additional cost, or I can make it silent by waving my hand like that instead of like this. So that is one of the theses, and that's doctor monkeys throw their theses at you. Is a very old and not funny joke, but I tell it anyway because I laugh at it. Spell blending, and this is a kind of a throwback to old house rules, where you believe that spell slots are a shorthand for an underlying energy that powers all spell casting, and you found a way to tinker with a hierarchy of spell slots, combining them to fuel more powerful spells. So you can take first level spells and combine your slots and make a second level spell, or 2 second level spells and make a 4th level spell, and so forth. You can exchange as many spell slots as you have available. Bonus spell slots must be of a level that you can normally cast, of course, and each bonus spell slot must be of a different spell level. So, yeah, there you have it. And you can also trade a spell slot for 2 additional cantrips, which, if cantrips are... Well, for wizards, cantrips are actually slots. You get 5 slots, even though it says... well, let me see the rules here. A cantrip is a special type of spell that doesn't use spell slots. You can cast a cantrip at will any number of times a day. Rounded up. Cantrip is always automatically heightened to half your level, rounded up. This is usually equal to the highest level, and yet they give you cantrips, spell slots, which I find odd, and I never noticed that before, because you get cantrip slots as a wizard. So, I am going to have to look into that, and I'll post it on the comments about my findings on that. And then the other thesis is spell substitution. Well, wizards have to prepare their cantrips, so they don't cast them spontaneously. And okay, that's really going to bother me now. Spell substitution. You don't accept the fact that once a spell, and this is also a throwback to house rules from other versions, you don't accept the fact that once spells are prepared, they can't be changed until your next daily preparation, and you have uncovered a shortcut, allowing you to substitute new spells for those you originally prepared. You can spend 10 minutes to empty one of your prepared spell slots, and prepare a different spell from your spell book in its place. If you are interrupted during such a swap, the original spell remains prepared and can still be cast. You can try again to swap out spell later, but you must start the process all over again. So, well, that's cool. So that's one of the benefits of being a wizard and using the thesis. So again, it adds depth to the character, which I'm all about. I'm thinking it's really, really cool. And back to the actual spells and the magic system. That was the point of next is the focus spells. and this is really one of the things that I really wanted to talk about. A focus spell. They're a special type of spell attained directly from a branch of study, from a deity, or from an other specific source, such as the clarinet. Wee. And I play a lot of different instruments, and I still maintain that the clarinet was in fact designed very, very personally by Satan himself. Not that people who play clarinet are evil. No, you can take something bad and make it work for the powers of good if you so choose. I've heard some beautiful clarinet music, and I love the clarinet. But it is an evil instrument that one wrong turn can send you down the abyss of high-pitched squealing, splinters, and other awful, ear-piercing screams of the damned. Those who get focus spells, it just varies from class to class. And it says even some classes that don't normally grant spell casting, such as the champion and the monk, can grant focus spells. For example, a champion, or which can be a paladin or what have you. The paladin is like a sub-study of the champion. Can have lay on hands. That would be a focus thing. And the monk can gain their power of ki and blow a hole through you with a touch. One of my favorite scenes of ki energy was believe it or not, the Warriors of Virtue, where the 5 elements were represented by anthropomorphized kangaroo, who were the Warriors of Virtue, and the master thereof, the old man who taught them everything that they know, fought Komodo, which was an evil ki-using, broadsword-wielding. He had one of the 9 rings broadswords, and the old man was fighting him with a single stalk of grass. And he was wha-ping, wha-pang, and that's key. It still gives me goosebumps. It's so crazy because it was kind of supposed to be a kid's show, but I loved it. I thought it was great. And just because of that, as they were running across the tops of the grass, he reached down and grabbed one of the stalks that had this little seed cluster on the end, and was wha-ping and wha-pang and blocking Komodo's with his broadsword, and showing what inner peace can do. They can mess you up. Is what they can do. That is another use of the focus. And so back here is a list of focus spells, like uncontrollable dance, doodly 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 doodly, and so forth. It is an enchantment, an incapacitation, and a mental. It's arcane and occult. It's a no, that's not right. I went past the focus spells. I apologize. Focus spells. Here we go. Cry of Destruction is a focus level 1. It is in the destruction domain, and it's somatic and verbal, which can be it has the traits uncommon, which helps you if you want to introduce your spells a little bit at a time. They all have a trait that tells you whether they're common, uncommon, or rare. It's like, oh, he knows the reverse hurricane whirlwind sneeze attack, and it's, oh, that's from that was thought to be forgotten millennia ago. So I don't know why an old prospector would know. That was back when I was panning for gold in the Yukon. Really? It's uncommon, it's cleric, it's an evocation, and it's sonic. So a bard, what I'm trying to think of, could cast it. And since it's automatically heightened to half your level, an 8th level bard would heighten it by 4, meaning that it would do, it does a d8 of sonic damage. So heightened by 4, not 2-4, but by 4, would take the damage up to 5d8 as well. And that's a focus spell. So the focus would have to be your voice and so forth. So that is, and there's an entirely different section on focus spells. So the last and possibly the coolest new section of magic is the ritual. Rituals are, now the concept is not new. It's about spells that can be cast over time and are thus different. It's a different system. And the cool thing about this is that it says here that anyone can cast a spell, can cast a ritual. Anyone can take place in a ritual. In this game and in real life, anyone can participate in a ritual. And if you have knowledge of Wicca or any other kind of pagan magic, you know that this is true. If you've got the focus, if you've got the faith, if you've got the stuff that you need, the athame, the magic circle, the medicine bag, whatever levitates your boat. If you have it, you can do it if you have the discipline. And so too is true of this. If you've got what you need to do the check, the ritual, learning a ritual does not count against any limits on spells in your spell repertoire or any other normal spellcasting ability. They're never common, though if you look hard, you can probably find someone who can perform an uncommon ritual for you. This may be they may be unwilling to teach you because magic is valuable, and if someone makes money on cooking that souffle, they're not going to tell you how to do it because they want you to pay them to do it. The ritual's cost entry lists valuable components required to cast the ritual. Now, as I failed to mention earlier, most material components are in the material bag, the materials pouch that a wizard or other spellcasters carry that have their more common, like eyes of newts and so forth. If it's a very special material component, it tells so in the spell. But that kind of simplified the process that I think everybody hates, which is keeping track of your material components. You will have a component bag. But in the ritual, the rituals are have a special words, man. So, for example, Let's take a look at the consecrate. You don't have to be a priest to consecrate things. I know this personally. In the real world, you don't have to be a priest to make holy water and consecrate stuff. All you have to do is know the blessing and know the components, water and a little bit of salt, and you give it a blessing. Holy water. You don't have to be an archbishop. Contrary to what the church would have you believe, in some instances, you don't have to have an actual clergyman make you holy water or consecrate something, and that is true here as well. It takes 3 days to cast. It's a consecration evocation. The cost is rare incense and offerings worth a total value of 20 gold pieces plus the spell level. You have to have 2 secondary casters, and they must be worshippers of your religion. So you can't be a Buddhist monk and ask a couple of Catholics to help you, or a Catholic and a person of the Jewish faith, which sounds like a Buddhist, a Catholic, and a Jew walking into a bar, and the bartender says, "Why the long face?" And the monk says, "Nay." Many rituals need additional secondary casters who also don't need to be able to cast spells. So they just have to be of your faith. For example, when we played a campaign recently called the Cord Campaign, I had a fighter. Tavernier Lisa had an escaped slave who started out as a fighter, later became a paladin of Cord, and then later lost his paladin status and became a rogue of Cord. And then Lyric had a priestess of Cord, and Josh was the guy who hired us, who was not of Cord. But we were all worshippers of Cord. The 3 of us were worshippers of Cord, and then Ian was the dungeon master. So you get those guys together and say, I need to cast a ritual. And the rituals by level are animate object, consecrate, create undead, inveigle, geas or gace or gay-ass or geas. Depends on if you use gifs or gifs, I guess. I don't know. Atone, blight, plant growth, call spirit, planar ally, resurrect. So a bunch of your buddies can get together and resurrect your ass. And they don't have to be spellcasters. They just have to be of the same faith and have the stuff needed. Awaken animal, commune with nature, planar binding, primal call, legend lore, control weather, freedom, and imprisonment. Those are the current rituals by level, and that's just how it goes. And it has a different cost. Let's take a look at resurrect. Wrong section. In resurrect, inveigle, you win over a target's mind, causing it to see you as a close and trusted friend. So that's an enchantment. So if you've ever seen somebody casting in storybooks where the witch casts a spell and from a great distance and in a ritual, bubble, toil and trouble, and it takes a day to cast it, and then there's your buddy. So then let's see, where the Frickin', there it is. It's a 5th level ritual, and it costs. It takes a day to cast. It costs diamonds, worth a total of 75 gold pieces times the target's level, which that is really cheap. $750 worth of dollars. Gold pieces worth of diamond. Be a single ring. Give me a ring. The range is 10 feet. The target is one dead creature. I can't cast a spell. Well, you need a dead creature. Oh. Up to 10th level. And it's heightened to 6th. All the way up to 10th. You can get it up to 10th level. As 9th level. Heightened in 10th level. As 9th level, except it doesn't matter how long ago the target died. The ritual requires 16 secondary casters, so that's a party. That's like Burning Man. Each of whom must be at least half the target's level. The target can be up to 20th level, and the ritual's base cost is 1,000 gold pieces. So, that is a very powerful ritual, and it doesn't. You have a bunch of fighters standing around and doing this, and the spell's level cannot be more than half your level rounded up. So you have to be at least twice the level of the spell to cast a ritual, which is why they have levels. So 8th level, you have to be at least 16th level of whatever rogue. And resurrect, you have to be 5th level at least, or heightened up to, you can be 5th level, so you have to be 10th level. Then to heighten it up to 10th level, you have to be 20 levels more, so you have to be at least 30 levels to do the 10th level heightened. So while the restraints are vigorous, the restraints are vigorous, the rewards are great. With great power comes great casting ability. And so forth. So that is the rituals. That are the rituals. Those the rituals. So that could be a quest, or that could be a whole campaign unto itself. Is getting the necessary, or stopping a wizard or a rogue priest or a rogue from he wants to stop he wants to let's see, what would be a good one here? This is perfect. Is a ritual called Freedom. You perform a ritual to free a creature imprisoned, petrified, or otherwise put into stasis by any magical effects from all such effects, even effects like imprisonment that don't have a duration, as long as freedom spell level is equal to or higher than the effect's spell level. So, the costs are valuable oils and objects associated with the target, worth a total of 100 gold pieces, times the spell level, times the target's level, with 2 secondary casters. Okay, what can we do with this? So, there is a rogue, for instance, who, or even a priest or something, that wants to free a demon. Simple as that, straightforward as that. Boring, I think, but you could have a rogue who wanted to free this fey creature who was notorious for just assisting rogues in their efforts to steal stuff. And this rogue wanted to steal stuff, so he wanted to steal this magnificent treasure that is otherwise unstealable, and so he has to wake or free Glipsnod, Flandagast, the fairy who, so the quest becomes stopping the rogue, from freeing the fairy to help him steal the crown jewels of whateverville. And the easiest way would be to just shoot one of his 2 additional casters. Boom. Problem solved. But if he gathers all of the oils and all of the things, and it's an abjuration, so it's legendary arcana or occultism, and it takes a day to cast. So if you can find him, if you can prevent him from getting the stuff, if you can find him, just a whole treasure trove of game possibilities just in that one area, one arena, that would just be fun. And so I'm giving the spells and magic new system, I'm giving it 5 big Vorpal glowing burning ice lightning axes. Because I'm totally digging it. I didn't cover the sorcerer or any of the other types of spellcasters intentionally because of time limitations or time considerations. I'm not really limited. I could talk about this for days, but just to say, suffice it to say that the wizards practice their spells. They prepare. Bards replace material and somatic and verbal components with their instruments and their singing. Doodly doodly doo. Priests use the foci. Oh, the one thing I wanted to mention about the spell focus, is that with the spell focus, you use your focus and you can't have more than 3. Some things give you more foci than just the one used per day, or used per 10 minutes. You can use a focus spell every 10 minutes because that's how long it takes to refocus, because that's an action and it takes 10 minutes. So you can focus and do the thing, and then you can spend 10 minutes and refocus and do the thing again as many times as you have 10 minutes to do. So it's incredibly cool. I love it. And there is a feeling that is had amongst some of the taverniers, at least one that I know of, who is Captain Wrath himself. And he says that, and this is Ian, of course, he believes that spellcasters are useless until they're gods. And that there's no meshing in between. And I think with this system, I think there would be where you could be useful at first, and then not so overpowered at the end, toward the end, or at least not so powerful that your barbarian enemy Rogaine Rogaine the Hairy can't get some of his friends together and do a ritual of their own and whoop your butt. So, or make you their friend if they want to. So magic isn't just, it's tricks are not for kids. They're for everyone who has the ability to do it. So that is where we are. So 5 big axes for spells and magic in the new Pathfinder 2nd edition core rules, right there, $59.99 at your. Well, you can probably get it cheaper through Amazon or other sources. Maybe they have it on PDF for less. I don't know. I haven't looked into it because I've got the solid book. I've got the big book, which I like. I prefer big books. I prefer hard copy, tangible books to PDFs, Even though I've got PDFs of just about everything that you see behind you, I prefer everything you see behind you to PDFs. So, buy this book. It's good. 5 axes thus far. So it's gotten a consistent 5 axes for everything they've done to date. And that is the players, or it's a core rule book, which does include some Dungeon Master, Game Master stuff, for Pathfinder 2nd edition. So, with that being said, on behalf of the entire cast and crew of the Dwarven Tavern, I am Dr. Jeff Goins. I'm not pretentious. I earned that PhD, those PhDs. We wish for you to want for nothing but adventure. And at first I feared it, then I charged. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back soon, and we'll see you next time.